NCTA's webinar, Wi-Fi is Critical Infrastructure for Internet Resilience. We are so thrilled to have you join us today. My name is Marina Pappas. I am the Institute Director for the Marconi Society. Before introducing our incredible lineup of speakers, I would like to invite attendees to share your name and affiliation in the Zoom chat. This will not only help us connect as a community, but more importantly, foster a collaborative atmosphere as we move through our agenda today. During the webinar, I encourage everyone to use the chat to submit questions for our speakers. For any unanswered questions, we will do our best to address those in future correspondence, along with the recording of today's webinar. So at this time, I'd like to introduce John Janowiak, President and CEO of the Marconi Society, to officially kick things off. John?
Thanks, Marina, and thank you all for taking the time out today to join us for this important session. This is I was just talking to the speakers before you all joined. This is a relatively new program for the society in terms of having online education, and so we're really pleased that you decided to join us and be part of sort of our early efforts here. We have brought forth a number of educational programs in association with our premier event, which is the Marconi Gala. And I'm sure Marina will talk a little bit about the various tracks and institutes that we're holding this fall at the Marconi Gala this November in San Francisco. But really, thank you for being part of some of the early work here. Really, I wanted to thank all the speakers for taking time out and sharing their perspectives. For those of you who don't know the Marconi Society, it's a 50-plus-year-old 501c3 nonprofit founded by Marconi's daughter. Really, it's got this enormous legacy and family behind it, and it's a very special organization, and has the hearts and minds and souls of many of today's leaders in technology that have really changed our lives. And so really very, very pleased to be continuing to develop the Marconi Society with programs like this. And again, thanks to all of our speakers, and thanks to you for making this happen. So back to you, Marina.
Thank you, John. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce Ricken Thacker, Chief Technology Officer and Senior Vice President Technology at NCTA, who will help lead our session today with an incredible group of experts, all eager to share their perspectives. Ricken, we are delighted to have you set the stage for why today's session is so important. So welcome, Ricken. I pass it off to you.
All right. Well, thanks, Marina, and thanks, John. Good afternoon. Good morning, good evening, everyone. I know we have people joining from around the globe. I'd like to thank Marconi Society for hosting this very important discussion and for bringing together such a distinguished group of experts from across the connectivity ecosystem. I'm Ricken Thacker. I'll be moderating this session. I serve as the Chief Technology Officer at NCTA, the Internet and Television Association. NCTA brings a broad perspective across broadband infrastructure, networking technology, and policy that impact day-to-day technology for consumers, areas that closely align with Marconi Society's work through initiatives such as the Advanced Wireless, AI, and Internet Resilience Institutes. We are also very pleased to join the Marconi Society. NCT as an official member. We joined last month and look forward to contributing to its important missions across all those initiatives. I'm very excited to moderate this discussion as we explore the evolving role of Wi-Fi as the foundational infrastructure for next generation connectivity. And before I start with the introduction of our amazing speakers, I want to set the stage. We know that over the past 2 decades, Wi-Fi has evolved from a convenience technology into foundational digital infrastructure. Today, it carries a substantial majority of end user data traffic, and it plays a central role in how consumers, enterprises, schools, hospitals, public institutions they experience broadband connectivity in general, right? In many aspects, Wi-Fi has become the primary interface to the internet for billions of users around the world. What makes this evolution particularly interesting is that Wi-Fi does not operate in isolation. Its success has come from how effectively it complements other access technologies such as cable, fiber, licensed wireless, and of course, increasingly converged network architectures in general. And Wi-Fi has, of course, played a very critical role in offloading traffic from cellular networks as well, helping improve overall spectrum efficiency. And I know many of the speakers today, most of them would be able to speak to that as well. User experience, of course, is another critical thing, especially in indoor environments where most data consumptions occur. At the same time, we are entering new phase of connectivity demand, AI-driven applications, immersive collaborations, industrial automation, telehealth, cloud gaming. These are just some of the names or some of the use cases which requires latency sensitive services that are placing new performance expectation on all kinds of networks. And meeting those demands require not only advancements in technology and standards, but also access to sufficient spectrum resources. And this is why recent developments in the 6 gigahertz band are so significant. The availability of wide contiguous spectrum for unlicensed use that is enabling next generation of Wi-Fi capabilities with higher throughput, low latency, and improved reliability. Importantly, the US approach to 6 gigahertz has also influenced global discussions around spectrum policy and the broader economic value for Wi-Fi innovation. So today's conversation is very timely because it sits at the intersection of technology, spectrum policy, and real-world connectivity needs. We have an outstanding panel representing policy, infrastructure, enterprise networking, and spectrum coordination perspectives. And I'm looking forward to have this thoughtful discussion. So let's get started. I'd like to actually request our speakers to introduce themselves and along with your affiliation and what your organizations does, please tell me and tell the audience what is one word that comes to your mind when somebody says Wi-Fi. So I'm going to start with, let's just go with the banner speaker we have, Mary.
Thank you, Rickon. I represent Wi-Fi Forward, which is an organization based in Washington, D.C., that consists of entities who are interested in promoting policies, including spectrum policies, first and foremost, but other policies that advance the use of Wi-Fi. For example, we do reports, we file comments at the FCC. I have testified before Congress on various matters. So we're looking for ways to make sure that when policymakers are deciding questions about wireless broadband, they understand the value of Wi-Fi and keep it top of mind. For my one word, I have to say innovation, Rickon, because literally I have been in the Wi-Fi world for almost 30 years now, and I have never before been in an environment where innovation is exploding like it is today. The arrival of Wi-Fi 7, hot on the heels of Wi-Fi 6E, and now the advent of Wi-Fi 8, and a whole slew of feature functions that is going to literally change the way Wi-Fi networks operate, is just astonishing. I like to tell my friends who I graduated law school from many years ago, I go to work and I get to learn something new every day, and it's because I work in Wi-Fi. Thanks.
That's great, Mary. Well said. Thank you. Masood?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thank you very much to Marconi Society for creating this panel and also to Rikin for moderating. My name is Masood Olfad. I'm the head of technology, regulatory, and policy at Federated Wireless. being with Federated more than 11 years. We focus mainly on spectrum sharing from all aspects. Specifically, we are one of the first approved SaaS administrator in the CBRS and also ESC sensor provider as well. We are one of the earliest company who developed the AFC solution for 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi, high power Wi-Fi. And also we are approved to commercialize AFC in United States as well as Canada. And very closely, we are following the AFC development in all other parts of the world. From our perspective, we believe that the high power Wi-Fi using the spectrum sharing model is a key for enhancing the Wi-Fi usage. High power and the availability of a spectrum is a key that we believe in this new world that the new applications, AI applications are coming into the picture, required for the success of Wi-Fi. Thank you.
All right. Masood, any one word when Wi-Fi comes to mind?
Well, scalability and easy of the use. And of course, the innovation definitely, I agree with Mary that innovation is also part of the Wi-Fi capabilities. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks. Puneet?
Yeah, hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Puneet Sharma. I'm delighted to actually be on a panel with esteemed colleagues and researchers in Wi-Fi space. I represent Hewlett Packard Enterprise or HPE, where I lead the networking research portfolio for the company. That also includes, besides all the core and wired stuff, the Wi-Fi and private 5G research that we do. I'm an HPE fellow and have been working in this space. I actually jokingly tell my colleagues that I had joined this company in the last century. Uh, and yeah, no, I think I'm delighted to be here. In terms of before Rikin actually asked you, Puneet, what's the one word? Let me sort of spit that out. And the one word that comes to me when somebody says Wi-Fi is ubiquity, right? It's basically sort of everywhere. I sometimes use actually the hotspot on my mobile phone is called Atra Tatra Sarvatra, which is the Sanskrit for here, there, everywhere. And that's what I think of Wi-Fi. It's basically even if I try to avoid it, it finds me and it's everywhere, makes me feel connected. And it relates to actually the topic today also, Rikin, right? That the Wi-Fi infrastructure is not just critical, and because of being critical and everywhere, we need to make sure that it is resilient. And I look forward to the discussion on this topic.
That's great, Puneet, and that I'm definitely going to use that and of course give credit to you. But that was very meaningful what you just said about that Sanskrit word. Awesome, Chris.
Thanks, Rick, and delighted to be here today. Christopher Szymanski. I handle technology strategy for Broadcom's wireless communication, broadband communications group, and handling technology strategy. That basically means that I'm working on technologies many years before they come to market. So to give you sort of a sense of that, Broadcom has just released its fourth wave of Wi-Fi 8 chipsets, very comprehensive portfolio. And about 9 months ago, I started working on Wi-Fi 9 features. So Wi-Fi 9 will come to market sometime around 2031, December 2032. And so the pace of innovation and the amount of complexity when you're talking about semiconductor manufacturing on a global scale that interoperates with everyone and everywhere, regardless of who's making that technology, the standards process, the regulatory process. So quite a comprehensive endeavor. What comes to me, so, Mary, of course, following Mary is always very difficult because she stole the lead there. But it's really, for me, it's the internet. I just bought a new house, and I have so many connected devices here, and the kids are just irate when something is out. And it's like, Dad, you work on Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi's out. It doesn't matter that the broadband is out to the entire neighborhood. All people know is that the Wi-Fi isn't working. My fiance, she says my Wi-Fi is not working and she's on cellular. So it doesn't matter what the connection type is. Wi-Fi is so ubiquitous. It's really synonymous with the internet.
Thank you, Chris. And gosh, you're already working on Wi-Fi 9, and we are talking about Wi-Fi 8 that would be out in a couple of years. So I guess this is a hint for folks at Marconi Society that we should be doing this webinar every 2 years at least, and revisit the technology. But no, this is great. Appreciate everyone. And I would tell my one word, and that's essential. 10 years ago, many people might have said convenience. But today, as everybody else mentioned just before me, most of us probably think Wi-Fi is essential. We cannot do anything without it. So that's great. So let's dive into some Q&A here. And this one is actually, I like to invite all of you to chime in here, all the speakers here. Wi-Fi has evolved from, as I said, convenience technology into critical digital infrastructure. So what do you see as the single biggest driver shaping the next decade of Wi-Fi innovation? And maybe, Chris, I'll just start with you. Let's just go in reverse order.
Okay, thanks, Rick. And so if I think about innovation and Wi-Fi over the next decade and what I'm working on right now, the driver really rolls up into two pillars. And that's honestly broadband access to all. You need to have broadband that's accessible, but also deterministic. And when I talk about deterministic, I'm talking about reliability and low latency because what we're working on right now is enabling AI voice assistants and various AI agents that can't tolerate more than a few milliseconds worth of delay in the local area network because it's got to get all the way back to the data warehouse. You got to go over the fiber, you got to go over every hop. And it's a shared medium. So if I have 50 homes in a neighborhood that's on the same fiber strand, they're chattering it up there. You've got it also, in your data warehouse and then at the home. So what we're working on right now, at Broadcom is the rollout of 50 gigabit fiber interconnects, and Wi-Fi has to keep up with that. And it's not about throughput. So throughput became less and less. It's a number on a box, but throughput became less and less important after Wi-Fi 5. Now, throughput is synonymous with latency. The bigger the pipe, the faster I can get on and off the air, the less chance that my packet collides either wirelessly or wired with my neighbors down the road, right? And so I can get all of these bits and bytes through the network. And so this high, tight, coordination and reliability is absolutely required for applications that you can kind of see right now, nascent applications that are going to be pervasive in the next few years. So you're going to continue to see things that make Wi-Fi far more deterministic and ease of access, making it accessible to all.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Puneet, thoughts on this? Single biggest driver next decade?
Yeah, I think that the single biggest driver is going to be all the emerging applications that we are seeing, right? And the direction of the traffic on Wi-Fi itself is going to change significantly. We mostly were in this sort of downstream kind of era, right? Lots of things coming down from cloud and all the other connected stuff. But with AR, VR coming in, people are trying to actually do telehealth, telesurgeries. And not only the traffic profile and the direction change, it's become way more bidirectional than it ever has been. The requirements on the network has changed tremendously, not only in terms of bandwidth demand, right? But also in terms of the latencies and things like that, right? When we talk about telesurgery, when we talk about AR, VR, and all these point clouds being rendered, it can change your experience so much of, let's say, gaming or a whole lot of other things that you are relying on networks, the multiplayer games, and so on. Because if you move the head, the amount of data that needs to be transferred has to change significantly. I also want to sort of step back a little and take a more holistic view of compute and communication working together, right? The Wi-Fi, there is right now a lot of the Wi-Fi chipsets themselves have AI capability or compute capabilities being built into them, because we are trying to do a lot of this compute on the fly as the packets are going by. And so on. So I think the the drivers are going to be the requirement for compute with communication for Wi-Fi, right? AI, and this is not just in terms of how do you manage the control plane, but also the data plane for this, and the emerging applications which are going to put increasing demands on the Wi-Fi infrastructure itself. And there, I do want to sort of underline something that hopefully we'll get to talk about later, as well as the notion of quality of experience, right? I mean, these applications, whether if it is telesurgery, then the outcomes of the surgery themselves, to if it is AR, VR, or video streaming or teleconference like we are having right now, right? We need to focus more on quality of experience, not just the bandwidth or the latency per se.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know we are going to, I have a question around that, so we'll come back to that. Masood, your thoughts at high level?
Good. So, of course, I don't have the privilege like Chris to work on Wi-Fi 9. So I might focus only on the spectrum aspect. Obviously, I think a spectrum is a key for the success and expansion of Wi-Fi to provide better coverage as well as the higher throughput. Large bandwidth is a major requirement to achieve the throughput requirement for new applications. Nowadays, a lot of applications are relying on Wi-Fi, and therefore higher throughput and stability of the spectrum portfolio is a key for the success of future Wi-Fi 8, Wi-Fi 9, and the future versions of Wi-Fi that are coming in the next decade. So as a result, I think it is critical to push for larger bandwidths. The success in 6 gigahertz all around the world has been an exemplary case for the success of a spectrum expansion for Wi-Fi, and the regulatories around the world have to look at the additional spectrum needed for Wi-Fi success. And I believe that because of the complexity on the spectrum portfolio, the concept of dynamic spectrum sharing, similar to what has been used in 6 gigahertz, is a key for the success of this plan. In addition to that, I believe the convergence of Wi-Fi with the other technologies, other radio access technologies is important. Especially end users might not necessarily understand or know radio technologies, what they want. They want seamless usage of the wireless band, and therefore the convergence of Wi-Fi with other technologies is also important. So that's my view on Wi-Fi in the next decade. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Masood, and I'm glad that you connected that piece with Spectrum and 6 gigahertz. Mary.
Well, I'll underscore everything Masood said about Spectrum. That can't be said enough.
Yep.
Wide allocations of spectrum, wide channels are the future of networking, whether you're a consumer or an enterprise, and that's critically important. I will not dwell on that, though. I would like to make a slightly different point in response to your answer, Rickon, which is, I think, to go back to my opening statement about innovation and the generations of Wi-Fi that are rapidly succeeding each other. As we all know in technology, as we get something new, the prior generation becomes less expensive to purchase. And so we had Wi-Fi 6E as an elephant. E was the first to use the 6 gigahertz band. Then we are now in the middle of the Wi-Fi 7 era. For those of us who have for those countries that have adopted 6 gigahertz band, well into the Wi-Fi 7 era. The Wi-Fi 8 era is about to launch, and Chris is already on the drawing boards on Wi-Fi 9. So this is really important, particularly in smaller economies for ISPs whose margins are thin. Because as these technologies become less expensive, we're going to see more and more reach of 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi networks in the world. And I think for the next decade, that the prospects of 6 gigahertz serving broadband needs, mobile offloading needs globally are just expanding. And I know we've got some questions on this later on about the numbers around that. But to me, the big driver is the democratization of the 6 gigahertz band and its extension into every global market.
Yeah. No, that's great.
I'm sorry, Rikin. I
Yeah, go ahead.
apologize. I wanted to add one more item related to a spectrum. Am I allowed?
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you. I think everything that Mary said about 6 gigahertz, I cannot say more. That's definitely my view as well. But I want to add one more item. Because of the very vast use cases and services that are using Wi-Fi, going from VR, AR, ultra high speed links, as well as the fixed wireless. I think this diversity of the spectrum ranges that could use Wi-Fi is pretty important. Currently, we are looking Wi-Fi to be used in lower bands, 2.4, 5, and also in 60 gigahertz, sub 1 gigahertz. Depending on the type of use case and services, I think this diversity, spectrum diversity allocated to Wi-Fi is pretty important. But as Mary said, I believe the heart of the Wi-Fi operation is 6 gigahertz because of the size of that and the trade-off that it gives between the coverage and also the ultra high throughput. So that's another thing I wanted to add. Thank you.
No, that's great, Mr. Dan, and thank you. I want to also mention this for those on the who are listening, and some of them might be actually new to this domain, Wi-Fi. That there are two. Before 6 gigahertz, there are two legacy bands for Wi-Fi: 2.4 gigahertz band and 5 gigahertz band. They are not as big as 6 gigahertz, but also they are legacy band. They are many other unlicensed devices operate in those bands, and they are crowded. And because of that, the overall Wi-Fi performance the way we expect now, or we have now, would not have been possible in those bands. And that's why US allocated 1200 megahertz of unlicensed spectrum, and that is in 6 gigahertz band for Wi-Fi operation. And also highlight what Mary mentioned earlier, and that is we already have 7th generation of Wi-Fi that was out 2 years ago, and we have devices already out there. And this is the Wi-Fi's 7th generation we are talking. And Chris mentioned earlier about Wi-Fi 8 that would be out in a couple of years, and then later on 9th generation. Let me get back to you, Mary, and then I'm going on to this new report, the research report that came out from ABI, I think just a couple of weeks ago, that identified some key industry trends in Wi-Fi, including growing demand and cross-sector statistics. So can you share additional insights or highlights from that report? And also addressing that, if you can tie a little bit other developments that you see on Wi-Fi and 6 gigahertz across the world. I mentioned about US decision 6 years ago. What do you see happening around the world on 6 gigahertz as well? So I know it's a two questions from
That's a lot. I don't want to bogart the entire webinar, but I'll try to be brief.
Please, yeah,
So
no.
Wi-Fi Forward, in partnership with ABI Research, which is one of the leading research analyst firms on technology, produced a report looking at enterprise Wi-Fi and how enterprises are using it. This is a little understood, although Puneet lives in this world, from a policy perspective, it's a little understood aspect of Wi-Fi, how deeply businesses are using Wi-Fi. In the United States, there's practically no business that doesn't have Wi-Fi in its network. But here's a couple of highlights. Let me just talk first. We talked about the 6 GHz band, which came online in 2020 in the United States, and there's a long line of countries since then that have adopted that either in whole or in part. But here's what they said about 6 GHz chipsets, just to give you an idea of how popular all those products are that Chris and Puneet are designing. In 2022, there were 200 million 6 GHz chipsets that shipped around the world in that year. Last year, it was 1.1 billion chipsets in the 6 GHz band that shipped around the world. By 2030, ABI is forecasting 2.6 billion, and the curve is still going up. If we came back 2 years from now, they would be projecting a higher number into the 2030s. So these things are the numbers are mind-blowing. It is the largest radio ecosystem on the planet, no question, and swamps everything else. And 6 GHz is set to swamp everything else. Among the things they looked at four verticals: education, stadiums, healthcare, and manufacturing. They talked a little bit about how Wi-Fi is used in each and what is sort of the compelling value proposition. Well, no surprise in education, it's density. Particularly large universities, you get 15, 20, 25,000 students. You are looking at hundreds of thousands of devices that network is managing, in addition to the research capabilities that the university has to worry about, and all the administrative stuff, and all the security stuff. So these networks are large and extremely dense. Perhaps the most extreme example of density, though, is stadium use, where you're concentrating 7,500,000 people to watch a game. And guess what? They all want to take that video of that pass or that goal and upload it to all their friends, right? To Puneet's point, the traffic is not all down the downlink anymore. It's on the uplink. And so we're seeing in some of our Division I American football stadiums, not the real football, but the American football, you're seeing 35,000 unique devices on these networks, and they're pumping 17 terabits of data for an event. It's like ridiculous how much data is being used. In healthcare, I would say the word is heterogeneity. It's everything from internet access to medical IoT devices to administrative stuff to real-time location of expensive equipment, et cetera, et cetera. Again, that's all being managed in the Wi-Fi network. And with manufacturing, of course, it's automation, right? It's the robots and the automated devices that are going to fetch the things in the logistics center and all of that. So those folks are really relying more on indoor standard power using advanced sharing technologies that Masood referred to earlier. So it's an incredible report. Go to the Wi-Fi Forward website and download it because if it's not in your economy yet, it's coming to an economy near you. Now, on the global picture, in Marconi's time, we would go around the world in 80 days. I'm going to try to do it in 2 minutes. So on the lower part of the 6 band, the 6 gigahertz band, the lower 500 megahertz, the world has spoken. It's going to be a Wi-Fi band. There are 114 countries that have adopted it, and the rest are just, they'll get there. It's not that is going to be the standard technology for lower six. The upper six is more of a mixed bag. But there are 14 countries, including the United States, that have decided that they want the full band opened for Wi-Fi because that enables the large, wide channels that are so important to latency and reliability that you talked about, and all of the next generation applications that Puneet talked about. And so the way we're using Wi-Fi in the future is different from the way we used it 20 years ago, and we need to have that spectrum in order to achieve the engineering objectives. So there's 14 that have opened. Then there's the case of Europe, and Europe's pretty important because a lot of the world follows Europe. Europe is debating what to do in the upper 6 gigahertz band. And the current draft proposal, which will be going out for consultation later this year with an expected completion date of 2027, would open the lower 160 megahertz of spectrum for Wi-Fi in upper six. So you would get lower six plus another 160. So that's good. That's more channels. Not as good as the US, but still better. And then there's some language in the draft opinion that talks about how different administrations inside Europe may decide they want to open the full 6 gigahertz for Wi-Fi. So there's some availability there for others to do that. Over in the UK, which is no longer part of Europe proper, thanks to Brexit, they're actually doing something even more innovative. So let's use the lower 160 for Wi-Fi. And then above that, let's share between IMT, whether that's going to be 6G, probably 6G. Let's share between 6G and Wi-Fi. And let's use some of these innovative new sharing tools that Masood talked about to enable that. So we can let the operators, if they want some licensed spectrum in that band, particularly in dense urban areas, come in. And as they come in and as their networks turn up, we can use advanced sharing technologies to exit the Wi-Fi that was previously there and either move them in frequency or move them in geography to share the band. So UK gets 5 stars for innovation. I think a lot of the world is looking at those two jurisdictions to see what's going to happen. So I don't expect things to change that much on the international front before that occurs. But I can tell you that almost every regulator that we talk to around the world is looking to see what the outcome of those two debates will be.
Hey, Rickon, would you mind if I just double clicked quickly on something that Mary said? Because it really resonated.
Yeah, absolutely.
The number of connected devices in a stadium and tying it a little bit to critical infrastructure. So number one, when I talk to my enterprise vendors, they're telling me that in some cases they have up to 50% of network traffic on the 6 gigahertz band in a dense stadium. A lot of the time it's 30 to 40%. So to put this in perspective, this band has only been operationalized for about 5 years. When we went from 2.4 gigahertz to 5 gigahertz, it took 11 years for the industry to ingest that new band. There's costs associated with the new radio. So we've ingested the 6 gigahertz band into the standard and made it a core band in half of the time. That's staggering. And then how that relates to critical infrastructure. I went to a Coldplay concert in Rio de Janeiro, and I had no ability to communicate with anyone. The network was completely bogged down. So I couldn't get my Uber. I couldn't get anywhere downtown in a country, but I didn't speak the native language. But this can happen anywhere. When you have this extra capacity, you have the ability to communicate and coordinate. So what would happen if there were some sort of traumatic event or a disaster and there's zero connectivity present? our macro cellular networks get overloaded so very quickly because they're not designed for that amount of traffic at one time when you have people congregating. And so it really is staggering on the uptick on the 6 gigahertz adoption.
No, that's
We
great
can,
point, and appreciate
can I
Mary,
add
your
one thing
overall
to?
background. Yes, Masud, go ahead.
Yeah, so thank you. Sorry, I cannot stop talking about the spectrum selfishly. I want to add 3 items to what Mary said very well. I appreciate Mary elaborates everything so eloquently. So, so number one, as Mary said, majority of Europe countries are looking at the upper 6 gigahertz for mobility IMT, but Ofcom, we saw the consultation. Many people responded to that consultation. The upper 6 gigahertz. The upper 6 gigahertz, which is 540 megahertz, is suggested to be a priority for IMT and then share with Wi-Fi. We have very specifically suggested the mechanism for sharing. So I think it's not a rocket science. All the sharing solutions already exist, and we have given the exact detailed methodology how we can share that. I think we have things in mind, and I'll be happy to talk to people about that later on. So that's number one. Number two is I don't want to kind of ignore the importance of 2 other countries that are doing 6 gigahertz regulatory proposals for Wi-Fi because of the location that they are and the importance that they are have on the regions. One of them is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has a significant improvement on approving it's not yet commercialized, but they're very much advanced in approving the 6 gigahertz, including high power for Wi-Fi, and the impact they have in the region to Middle East, Africa, and other areas of the world. Another country that is important is Colombia, that is very much advanced in Latin America because of the population. Colombia is very much advanced, and we believe that soon they want to operationalize 6 gigahertz standard power. That's a second item I wanted to mention. Of course, there are a lot of other countries like Australia and others that are looking at. And finally, on this international front, I think one of the important success factor for all of these is basically the similarity, as much as possible, similarity of standardized AFC solution, both for the AFCs as well as devices. So that helps increase the scalability of equipments if they don't have to have different technology, different methodologies to address AFC. So I think, fortunately, Ofcom and Saudi Arabia and Colombia are looking at, and also Canada, have been following the solutions that FCC has provided. And I'm hoping that the standard solutions are as close as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, right. No, that's great. I would say this. I mean, this is going great. I think we have right opportunity to even summarize all this and maybe the questions that I may not be able to cover today, and just write a blog or a series of blog for platforms. So this is great. Thank you. I'm looking at the time as well. I have a couple of questions from the audience too, but I want to actually go to Puneet for the next question. Puneet, we are seeing increasing convergence between Wi-Fi and private wireless networks as well. How do you see those technologies complementing one another in enterprise and industrial environments over the next few years? And you're on mute, by the way, Puneet.
Thank you for pointing that out. See, here goes the resilience in terms of even audio communication. No, so I think absolutely right. we have come from the era where we were trying to actually figure out if all these different technologies can even coexist, right? And I think we have now figured not only they need to coexist, but they need to actually converge. We were talking about the UK use case that Mary was talking about also, right? I mean, how do you share the spectrum and things? And I think the convergence has to happen not only on the spectrum space itself, right? We had a lot of discussion about that spectrum. To me, these spectrums being opened up and the chipsets being designed to use that spectrum is like building big highways. Right now, you really have to also build the infrastructure for making sure that the traffic on these highways actually also matches the quality of experience demands that all these different applications have. Right, we built HOV lanes, which was similar to the WMM in the Wi-Fi, where we were giving priority to video traffic and so on. But if everybody is trying to actually sort of, we were talking about the stadium use case, if everybody is just sort of uploading these videos and things like that, whose video gets priority and things, it's almost like taking all the traffic on your highway and then putting them in the HOV lane. That HOV lane is not going to then help anybody at all, right? So we have to sort of be smarter with the convergence and not only drive this network for latency and bandwidth and so forth, but what are the requirements from the quality of experience from each of these applications individually, and do this in an end-to-end fashion. And that's where this convergence that we are talking about comes forth, right? I mean, yes, Wi-Fi is ubiquitous, and I sort of made it even fancier with the Sanskrit and whatnot, but the fact that the Zoom call that we are having right now is actually not just on the Wi-Fi from each of your APs up, but there is this whole core and rest of the backhaul that needs to align also. So I think the convergence is important. And again, there are limitations to no matter what we do with the spectrum. There are limitations for what Wi-Fi can do and how much, right? The 6 gigahertz, the bandwidth is high, but it might actually sort of get had other range issues and whatnot. So private 5G or the CBRS band here in US can actually come into play to sort of fill those gaps. We are even actually in our lab trying to do some research on where we can even bring in meta surfaces, right? Not just the active radio and spectrum usage, but how do we actually manage that spectrum in a holistic manner so that the quality of experience for telesurgery, all these emergent applications that we were talking about and so on. I used to actually, this is way before all the Wi-Fi 9 that Chris is talking about would happen. Earlier, I used to tell people, look, now on my Wi-Fi, I can actually watch and stream movies. I don't have to go to the theater. But as soon as I start the microwave, I can't see that movie. So no popcorn in my house when I'm watching movies, basically, right? And so that sort of the reason I highlight this is not just the interference with other things, but the fact that the benefit and the resilience that convergence is going to bring to be able to deliver that quality of experience.
Right. And just for everybody's reference, you're talking about putting a 2.4 gigahertz band. Most of the micros operate on 2.4, and that used to be the case. No longer with 6 gigahertz, thanks to 6 gigahertz.
Exactly.
No, thank you. I am sensitive of time here. I do want to actually ask this question to the panel here. This is coming from the audience. I'm looking for one of our speakers who could actually, anyone basically, answer that. Here's a question. How should we think about the interplay between licensed and unlicensed spectrum in supporting scalability and innovation? Who'd like to take that?
Well, I'm certainly happy to take it.
Yes, please.
You have to have both. There's no question we live in a world where our mobile phones are essential and those cellular networks are essential to us particularly when we're out and about leaving the house and on the roadway or commuting or whatever we're doing during the day. So the value there is a lot of value in having licensed spectrum. What tends to get overlooked, at least in the policy world where I live most of the time, is the value of unlicensed spectrum. And that's because we don't auction it here in the United States, so it doesn't get those grabby headlines about how much revenue the government raised. But what it does provide is the ability of consumers to use new applications, to do things faster, to download movies and deal with, I think in the US, we're well into the mid-20s on the number of devices on average everybody has in their home. And there's some super users like Chris that probably have 40 or 50 devices in their home. So all of that is enabled by unlicensed, and then turn to the business and enterprise world where Puneet lives, and businesses are using this technology for so many things, not just internet access and administrative stuff, but in the actual production of goods and services. So Wi-Fi Forward did a study in the US a couple years ago. What is the economic value of Wi-Fi in the United States economy? It's going to be $2.4 trillion. Just sit with that a minute. That's a big number. $1 trillion in economic value by 2027. And we get similar off the charts numbers. The Dynamic Spectrum Alliance has done some terrific work in this regard around the world. I think they have more than a dozen of these similar studies looking at different economies. So you need both, and you need to understand each technology from the perspective of how is it going to deliver marginal benefits to people, and make your spectrum allocations accordingly.
Yep, well, that's great, Mary. We would we'd like to allocate some time for Marconi Society to also share a little bit more information about the society and what's ahead. But I'd like to actually, and there are a few other questions as well. So we will actually try our best to answer those through other medium, but appreciate everybody's time here. Mary, like in 30 seconds, I know we have World Wi-Fi Day coming up. What are we doing next month?
Yeah, World Wi-Fi Day is June 20th, and World Wi-Fi Day was started by the Wireless Broadband Alliance. There are various events planned. I know we have one planned for Washington, D.C., but you'll see some blog posts and social media going out around that event to celebrate Wi-Fi and how much it helps us every day in all the work we do.
All right.
Make
Well,
videos and upload them using Wi-Fi. I think that's what.
all right. Well, thank you so much, Mary, Puneet, Chris, Masood, people who are watching this live. We know you're muted, so please go ahead and give a round of loud applause to our speakers here. And I'll give this to Flora at this point.
Yes, thank you so much, Rikin. Thank you, everybody, for this fascinating conversation that was really, really interesting. My name is Flora Tromlin. I lead the international and corporate engagement for the Marconi Society. And I would like to really express our thanks on behalf of the Marconi Society to our partner, NCTA, Rikin, who really was critical in bringing this webinar together for you all, as well as all our sponsors and members and affiliate partners who you see on the screen now. Special thanks also to our strategic partners, AWS and VeriSign, and again, all our partners. I would like now to invite everybody on this call to join us for our upcoming events. Our flagship events will be in San Francisco, November 4 to 6, the 2026 Marconi Awards Gala and Institute Forums. We will recognize this year Marconi Fellow 2026, Robert Caldebank. I would encourage you to go to our website to learn more about the incredible work done by Robert and why he's receiving this prize. And in addition to the Marconi Awards Gala, we will meet and have 2 days of over fascinating conversation, exactly like the one you enjoyed right now, about the internet resilience, the future of AI, of the wireless industry, and quantum. So we hope you will all come and support us. I just sent in the chat my contact information. Don't hesitate to reach out to me if you would like to join us and become a member or a corporate sponsor. In addition to our in-person events in November, we will also have other webinars leading the way to November. So we hope you will sign up for our newsletter on our website, marconisociety.org, to follow us and join us for our next events. And with that, I would like to ask my colleague Marina to provide additional very important information to you all.
Thank you, Flora. So before we close today, I'd like to leave everyone with an important reminder. The deadline to submit nominations for the Marconi Institute Awards is June 5th, and that's just around the corner. As John Janowiak mentioned earlier at the start of this webinar, these prestigious awards really recognize individuals whose contributions have meaningfully advanced AI, internet resilience, and wireless communications, the very technologies that really shape and connect our global world and our global economy. So if you know a leader, innovator, or someone whose work is really making a difference in any of these areas, I encourage you to put their name forward. This is a powerful opportunity to really elevate and celebrate excellence in our field. So please scan the QR code for full details and submission guidelines. But with that, on behalf of the Marconi Society, we thank you all for joining this webinar today. If you'd like to stay connected and informed on these very topics, please visit our website and sign up for our newsletter. We look forward to welcoming you in future sessions. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone.